I want to talk today about checking out is not the way out. Amen. Now that's my take, so don't hate. Well, we've been in a series entitled Suicide Is Not Painless. We get that thought from the MASH theme song that says suicide is painless. Absolutely not. Suicide is not painless. Greetings. Welcome to another My Take segment on this Thursday, September the 16th, 2021. And, what a blessing it is to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. Regardless of the subject matter, education and awareness can go a long way. The last couple of weeks, our discussion was on, the first message was when pushed to the brink, push back. When pushed to the brink, push back. And we talked about how when we are placed under tremendous pressure, how to fight back, how to defend ourselves, amen, how to work our way from under that pressure. Then we talked about how to live with yourself when you feel like dying, how to live with yourself when you feel like dying. Sometimes people feel like dying. They think they want to die, and some people choose to die. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about suicide. So this is our final message. We're wrapping this series up today. We told you it'll be only a 3-part series, and I think on one of the messages we end up doing 2 parts to it, a part A and a part B, but we're going to wrap it up today. And now we haven't run out of things to say, and certainly we haven't run out of things to say about this subject, but hopefully we've given you enough to think about it, to research it, to learn as much as you can, so that we will be better equipped in how to protect ourselves and how to protect one another. Amen. So I want to encourage you to don't stop here when we stop the series. Continue to look into this and find out ways in which you can protect yourself, because sometimes you may find yourself depressed or so far down that you may feel like taking your life. We don't want to get to that place. All right. So we're talking today about checking out or suicide, committing suicide is not the way out. And again, we appreciate so much you joining us on this beautiful Thursday. And thank you always, no matter what we're talking about. We thank you so much for being with us. This particular series, for some, may have been a bit uncomfortable, kind of an uncomfortable subject to talk about suicide, but thank you for being here with us anyway, and thank you for your prayers. We do want you to understand that suicide is preventable. It is preventable, all right? And if you have those kinds of thoughts, know anyone else who may be having those kinds of thoughts, help is available. Help is available. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, nothing to be ashamed of. If you find yourself in a position where you need assistance, where you need help, don't be ashamed to ask for help. And don't be ashamed and don't be so stubborn that you refuse the help that is available for you, okay? Thank you very much. Because all of us go through different challenges in life, and of course we respond to them in different ways. And so, whether it's you or anybody else, if there's any indication, any statement that a person may be thinking of hurting themselves or someone else, it should always be taken very seriously, okay? Whether that's you or whether that's a family member, whether that's a friend or just an acquaintance, all right? So today I want to give just a few of my own thoughts, but I want to spend the majority of our time reviewing an article that I found that was put out by the Cleveland Clinic of Cleveland, Ohio, and it is entitled Recognizing Suicidal Behavior, Recognizing Suicidal Behavior. Again, if from the beginning, I want to just give a few of my own thoughts, and then I'm going to spend the remainder of our time. Now, we may run over our time a little bit, but I really don't want to push this into a part 2 or part B. So thank you for your patience, and I think it's well worth our time to learn as much as we can in order to, again, be able to protect ourselves as well as protect our family and protect our friends. So, my testimony is that checking out is not the way out. No matter what you find yourself in, whatever position we find ourselves in, checking out or committing suicide, as far as I am concerned, is not the way out. But now it's your view that really matters. It's what you are thinking. It's your point of view that really matters in this discussion. I'm not here to really talk about me, but I want to talk about the subject that we have raised, as well as those who may be having those kinds of thoughts, those suicidal thoughts. All right? So what you are thinking is what really matters. And so hopefully we'll be able to say something today that will speak to your heart in terms of what you may be experiencing, what you may be thinking, or how you may be feeling. So this is what we have to deal with today. All right? And I'm a person that respects a person's right to make their own decisions. I totally respect a person's right to make their own decisions. Now, I don't always agree with other people's decisions, and you may find this hard to believe, but not everybody agrees with decisions I make, okay? But that's okay. It's all right. All of us have the right to make our own decisions, okay? But sometimes, our decisions not only hurt us, our decisions sometimes are not only in our best interest. Sometimes our decisions are not in the best interest of those around us. And this is why I hold to my statement that suicide is not painless, because it does affect people around us. All right? So as we look at this whole idea of making our own choices, making our own decisions, that is our right. But as we exercise that right, I do want us to understand that sometimes the decisions that we make, and you have probably learned this already if you lived any length of time whatsoever, that decisions are not always in our best interest, nor are they always in the best interest of those around us. So we need to take that into consideration when we are making our decisions. And I know it's our right, it's our life. I fully understand that. But let me tell you something. Decisions are not just decisions. They can be life changers. They can be life threatening and can send us in one direction or the other. Decisions obviously affect us right now and our future. Decisions affect our lives, and whether directly or indirectly, they can affect our family and our friends and their lives and their future as well. They can affect the community and the world in which we live. Let me tell you something, my friend. No decision is ever truly a personal decision. It is never a me-only decision. Are you hear what I'm saying? No decision is ever, I know it's a personal decision to make that decision, but as far as the ramifications of that decision or those decisions, it is not a personal thing. It affects other people. I mean, not only your family and friends, but it can affect people that we don't even know. It could affect the future course of our family, of our country, of the world. We don't know. So decisions need to be taken very seriously, and we need to understand that no decision is truly or completely or entirely a personal decision. Okay, so no, suicide is not painless. It is not painless. It can be very painful, very harmful to a lot of people, and it can cause a great deal of harm and damage. Suicide, my friend, is not painless. But I think for the most part, people do want to live. Regardless of their race, their situation, their culture, their condition, or whatever the factors may be. I don't think it's that people don't want to live or that they don't like life. I really believe that it's the circumstances. It's our circumstances, our condition, our situation, or whatever happened to us that we are often trying to escape. I believe that if things were different, that people would choose life. They would choose to live. I don't think people are angry with life, so to speak. I think sometimes we can become angry with what happens to us in life. When we choose to live, we have options. We have potential, and we have possibilities when we choose to live. We have a chance. as long as we get up and face the day and face whatever challenges facing us, there's a way to get through whatever we're going through. All right? But checking out is not the way out. With suicide, all bets are off. All possibilities are shut down. Dead eliminates all options. Do I need to say that again? Dead eliminates all options. I say it again. Dead. When we commit suicide, or when people commit suicide, we have no other options. We have no alternatives. Dead eliminates all options. With life, we have some chance. There's a chance of recovery. There's a chance to rebound. There's a chance for relief. There's a chance to begin again. But with death, there's absolutely 100% no chance. Are you hearing me? I mean, people go through all kinds of things. You know, when you think about the reasons that people think about suicide, or they think about harming themselves, you know, there are times that people are just, they're just fed up. They're tired of suffering. They're tired of the pain. They feel like dying because they're in such pain. They're suffering. And I understand. You know, I'm not sure I've ever been there myself, but I understand, you know, from what I've heard, what I've seen in people, that, you know, the pain can be overbearing. The suffering can be so frustrating that people sometimes are just ready to give up. I mean, just ready to give up. And I talked last week about how sometimes people simply panic, get caught in a situation and, you know, kind of suddenly, whether they bring it on themselves or not, and they're caught in that situation and they don't know what to do, and they just panic and do something that if they live, they would live to regret. But oftentimes people don't even live to regret it. Don't even live to regret their decisions. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So sometimes people feel like, you know, the pain is just too great. And sometimes people just get tired. You know, I've talked to a number of elderly people, unfortunately, especially, you know, if they had some kind of illness. But, you know, I've talked to people who just, you know, once they're old in age, you know, they're just tired. You know, it just, life becomes such a challenge to them that they're just tired. They're exhausted. You know, and I'm hoping, you know, we talk about growing old gracefully. I hope I grow old energized. Hallelujah. Yeah, that's what I like to do. I would like to grow old energized. I don't want to get tired, you know, going into the home stretch. I want to be energized. And I think that's really the way it ought to be. The closer we get to leaving here, the more excited we ought to get. That, oh, and we ought to be thankful. Oh, I got another day to live. Hallelujah. And we ought to be grateful for it. All right. But sometimes people just get tired. So people are going through, you know, different things. And sometimes people feel like they're just in a dead end situation. There's no hope. They feel helpless, hopeless. And then sometimes people use suicide as a way to avoid accepting and facing responsibility. All right. And so I'm going to talk about this piece from Cleveland Clinic in just a moment. But there's some, through my research and through my studies and through experience with other people and through counseling and so forth, there are some, and some of this is going to come out in this particular article, but there are some groups that you know, particular groups that we need to keep an eye on. War veterans is one of them. War veterans have a high rate of suicide. The elderly and disabled, again, because they just, you know, feel tired. Those who are what so-called terminally ill, that feel like, you know, I'm just going to die anyway, so I might as well go ahead and get it over with. I don't agree with that. I believe you ought to live till you die. I said, I believe you ought to live till you die. And then there are those who have certain mental and emotional conditions that they just want to check out. Okay, so let's look at this article. And again, it may take a little time, a little bit more time than we usually have, but please bear with me, because I think this is important for us to understand. And I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as I can. But I want to cover, I do want to cover as much of it as I can, because I feel like it's some very valuable information. Okay. And it says, in many cases, suicide can be prevented. learn the risk factors and warning signs, which include depression, change in personality, self-harm behavior, recent life crisis, and conversations about wanting to die. All right? If a family member or a friend talks about suicide, take them seriously. We've already talked about that. Take them seriously. Listen without judgment. Listen to them without judging them. And sometimes that's a struggle for me because, I want to jump right in and start trying to correct people sometimes. But sometimes we just have to listen. You don't know where a person's mind is. You don't know what they're thinking. All right? So if they're expressing that, then that's kind of good in a way because that gives us an opportunity to try to get help for them. Okay? So it says, listen without judgment and encourage them to seek professional help. We can't always help. And as a matter of fact, some of the things we do and some of the things we say may do more harm than good. And that's why, I'm always trying to be careful about what I say because I don't want to push anybody over the edge. If anybody's thinking about that, again, I don't want I talked about this in our first message. I don't want to come in with that dirty Harry mentality, and dare them to do it. No. You want to be sensitive. You want to be compassionate, and you want to listen. Even though you feel like, let me throw this out. Sometimes just helps just to listen. Because one of the things that I discovered is through counseling is when a person says, I really need to talk to you. I really need to talk to you. Do you hear what they're saying? I really need to talk to you. I really need to talk to you. Again, do you hear what they're saying? They're saying, I need to talk to you, not I need you to talk to me. Okay? Obviously, there's times we do need to offer some advice and some counsel. But for the most part, just listen. And I've gone through that where a person have come to talk to me, and I let them talk to me, and afterwards they say, I feel a whole lot better now. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. So we have to be sensitive and compassionate and just listen, okay? All right, so now here are their groups. And this is based on studies that various clinics and even CDC agrees with these figures. This was kind of surprising to me. It says groups of people who have higher rates of suicide include American Indian, Native Americans, Alaska Native persons, Caucasians, and veterans. And then one that really kind of surprised me, people who live in rural areas. That really shocked me. I would have thought that, you would find it more, in urban areas. But here they say rural dwellers. And then here's another one that does not surprise me, just because of the confusion and the anxiety that is oftentimes associated with it. Young people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, you can tell it's not a word I'm accustomed to saying, but transgender, said these are groups that are more likely to consider or commit suicide. Okay? Says what are the situations, risk factors that could lead someone to consider suicide? What are the situations, the risk factors that could lead someone to consider suicide? What is it that's going on in their life that may bring them to this point? Listen to what he says. Although you may not know what might cause a friend or a loved one to suicide, there are at least some common characteristics to be aware of. There are some characteristics that we ought to take notice of. Okay? So it says known factors that increase an individual's risk of suicide. Known factors that increase an individual's risk for suicide. Okay? Then it looks at, it kind of has them broken down, It says individual factors, relationship factors, and we'll look at a couple more. But individual factors, listen to what it says. Has attempted suicide in the past, has a mental health condition such as depression, mood disorders, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, has long-term pain or disabling or terminal illness. We talked about that. Expressed feelings of hopelessness. We talked about that. Has money or legal problems, and that sometimes may drive people to consider suicide because they see no way out of it. has violent or impulsive behavior, has alcohol or other substance abuse problems, has easy access to self-harm methods such as firearms or medications. In other words, they have access. They have the tools in order to do it. So they may consider it, perhaps, I think they already have to be thinking about it, and they're more likely to do it if they have the means to do it. Then it says relationship factors, says has a history of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse or neglect or bullying. And unfortunately, we've seen that in many of our young people. These are people who have, persons that have been sexually abused or physically abused. And I think along with those go emotional and mental and physical abuse. Okay? And again, sometimes people feel like the only way to escape it is to check out, to commit suicide, to take their life. Okay? So, those are factors. Then it says, has easy access. Well, we covered that one. Okay, so relationship factors. Relationship factors. Has a history of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse or neglect or bullying. Relationship factors. Has lost relationships through breakup, divorce, or death. People that don't know how to deal with, that separation, that so-called loss. And the people, to certain people, that's a real loss, or relationship, no matter how you lose that relationship. Again, whether it's through divorce, whether it's through death, whatever the case might be. And this one didn't surprise me either. Don't know a lot about it, but I have thought that this may be a factor, has a family history of death by suicide. Now, I don't know whether that's in the genes or whether that's just a learned behavior that people follow. I don't know. Is socially isolated, lacks that social support that all of us need. Okay? Then it says community, cultural, and societal factors. Is ashamed to ask for help, especially help for mental health conditions. Lacks access to health care services, especially mental health and substance abuse treatment. Holds cultural or religious belief that suicide is a noble option to resolve a personal dilemma. They may be involved in some kind of cult, some kind of group that teaches them that suicide is the way out. Because we have those, and we have to be aware of those. Has become aware of an increased number of local suicides or an increase in media coverage of death by suicide. They kind of like that copycat kind of thing. They hear about it, and then maybe it begins to formulate in their minds as something that is acceptable, as a viable option. Okay? I disagree with that. Are you hearing me? I disagree with that. Suicide is not painless. It's very painful. Okay? Then let's look on down. All right, so it says, what are some of the most common suicide warning signs? What are some of the most common suicide warning signs? Some of the more common warning signs that a person may be thinking of ending their life include being sad or moody. Yep. Person has a long-lasting sadness and mood swings. Depression is a major factor for suicide. Sudden calmness, all of a sudden, where they may have been running around, and excited about this and that. All of a sudden, they just kind of at peace, because in their mind, I'm leaving here soon. I don't have to worry about this anymore. All right, withdrawing from others. Person chooses to be alone and avoids friends or social activities. They also lose interest or pleasure in activities that they normally would enjoy. Okay? Changes in personality, appearance, sleep patterns. It's kind of like the whole life begins to change. Showing dangerous or self-harmful behavior. Engages in risky activities. Being in a state of deep despair. The person talks about feeling hopeless, having no reason to live, being a burden to others. We talked about that one. Feeling trapped or being in severe emotional pain. And we talked about that. And these are things, again, that can lead people to consider suicide or to attempt suicide. And then there are those, you notice in a person, they begin to make preparations for dying. The person begins to put their personal business in order. This might include visiting family and friends, giving away personal possessions, making out a will, cleaning up their room, cleaning the home. These are things, I hope that's something you do all the time, but sometimes it's not. And so a person may feel like, well, again, I'm leaving soon, so let me get things in order. Okay? Person sometimes will search online for ways to die, or they may buy a gun. And sometimes people will write a note before they commit suicide. Threatening suicide or talking about wanting to die. Not everyone who is considering suicide will say so. Sometimes people, you don't know until it's over. Then other times, people are really broadcasting it. We oftentimes miss it because we don't know what to look for. But they are broadcasting it, either just because they want us to know or because they're crying out for help. Okay? Now, then it has a bit here that says, can suicide be prevented? Yeah, it says in many cases it can. It can be prevented. Learn the risk factors for suicide. Be alert to the signs of depression and other mental health conditions. Listen, recognize suicide warnings. Provide caring support. Be there for that person or those persons. Ask directly. And that one kind of got my attention a little bit. But it says that ask directly if the person has considered hurting themselves. That, maybe we need to just come right out and say, what are you thinking? You're not thinking about suicide, are you? Just come out and ask. It says people who receive support from caring friends and family and who have access to mental health services are less likely to act on their suicidal impulses than those who are isolated from support. Are you hearing me? So it says, what should I do if someone I know is talking about suicide? So please pay attention. What should I do? If your friend or loved one is not in immediate danger, but is talking about suicide and is showing some of those risk factors that he talks about for harming themselves, take them seriously. If you can, remove any objects that can be used in a suicide attempt. Get everything out of the way, if you're in that situation where you can do that. Encourage them to call, or get together with them and call together a support service, such as the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. All right? And I'm going to put that number on the screen. If it's not already there, I'm going to put that number on the screen. But it's 800-273-8255 or 800-273-TALK. Okay, TALK. All right? So it says conversations are with a skilled, trained counselor and are free and confidential and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have no excuse. The help is there. Okay? We have no excuse. The help is there. It says if the friend or loved one appears to be extremely distressed, don't leave that person alone. Try to keep the person as calm as possible and get immediate help. Call 911 or take the person to an emergency room. Okay? Says then in a closing note from the Cleveland Clinic, it says if someone you know is exhibiting warning signs for suicide, don't be afraid to ask if he or she is depressed or if they are thinking about suicide. It's just come right in and ask them. Ask them if they're considering suicide. Listen again, listen without judging. Says in some cases, your friend or family member just needs to know that you care and are willing to hear them, listen to them as they talk about how they feel. And hopefully, my friend, let me add this, that they will know that whatever they talk to you about will be held in the strictest of confidence. Are you hearing me? Now let me pause right there because I know y'all. I know you. All right? Listen, when someone speaks to you in confidence, when there's a situation that need to be kept confidential, do not use prayer as a means to gossip. I think you were snoozing on that one, so let me say it again. Do not use prayer as a means to gossip. Don't call everybody in town talking about, I need you to pray with me because this person is going through this and this person is going through that, and I'm praying for them, and I need you to join me in prayer. Liar, liar, pants on fire. You're gossiping. You're saying things that you should not be saying. When people talk to you, keep it in the strictest of confidence, unless, one exception here, unless you're talking to someone who can help them, a professional who can help them, unless you're talking to a doctor, someone who needs to tend to what they're going through. Okay? So please, my friend, honor that. And they say, if you have suicidal thoughts, know that you're not alone, unfortunately. I mean, who wants a crowd at a time like that? Said also know that help is available 24/7. Call your healthcare provider, go to the emergency room, or call, again, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, okay? And again, that number is 800-273-TALK, 800-273-TALK, or 800-273-8255, 8255. All right, so let's please consider these things and try to educate ourselves and become aware of the kinds of things that lead people to consider suicide, understand those things that they can use to commit suicide, and understand what we can do. What can I do? Not only that, my friend, but sometimes it may be us. I don't know. It may be us. The old saying, never say never. It could be us. It could be you. It could be me. And I want to know what can I do to get myself out of this train of thought? What can I do to escape these thoughts that I'm having? And what can I do? Maybe it's a family member. It could be my child. It could be a spouse. It could, no matter who it is, or just a friend. We want to help them. We want to be able to intervene. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We want to be able to help those around us. I think that suicide is such a tragic thing, such a painful thing for so many people, such a harmful and damaging thing to so many people and to so many things. I believe it hurts us in so many ways, so many ways. So thank you so much for joining us during this series, Suicide is Not Painless. But do be in prayer, my friend. Pray that God will strengthen you. Pray for others around you. And God, if those thoughts ever come to your mind, you pray and you learn to trust God. You learn to know that God is able. And God has anointed people, doctors and counselors. He has anointed people. He has equipped people. God has prepared people for such a condition as this. So there's help out there. You're not by yourself. You're not alone. You're not traveling this road alone, my friend. There's help available. Just let somebody know. Let me close with this. For some things, there is a way out. For others, there's a way through it. And when those two fail, there's a way to endure. Now that's my take. What do you have to say? Sound off, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us during this series. And may God continue to bless you and yours. And please stay safe and keep your family safe as best you can. God bless you.